Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, distinguished guests, folks of all stripes, and all the little doggies, put your hands together for Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salazar Jr. I'm here in studio in Los Angeles with our co-host Carla the dog. She's right here. She's all sad. She's on the couch. She's not sad because of the outcome of the game. Don't worry, folks. The Astros won 8-0 tonight in this decisive win. She's sad because I'm going out of town, and she kind of, like all dogs, kind of can sense when that's happening. So she's it's a late night over here, and she sees the bag packed, and she is not happy. So, if you hear her voicing her concerns, if you hear her a little more than you normally do, that's why. Well, yeah, let's just get into it here. The Astros won, like I kind of buried the lead there. I'll learn how to do this podcasting soon enough. Don't worry, folks. The Astros won 8-0 was the final score. Cristian Javier picked up his first win. He's now 1-0. He has a 0 ERA. He pitched for 5 innings, got 3 strikeouts and 5 walks in this game. So good job on you, Cristian Javier. It's good to see one of our starters get a win. It's good to see another decisive win like that. Also, Cristian Javier only let up 1 hit in this game. So that was also very, very impressive. Jumping into my notes here, folks. I'm trying to to actually go off of my notes. But yeah, the Astros, Cristian Javier faced Chris Bassit in this game, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Big Bassit here. I'll always be a fan of Bassit. Now, just basically, we don't like to talk too much about the past on the podcast, but obviously, if I don't talk about the past, if I don't talk about things, I won't have much to talk about. But yeah, during the whole scandal and everything, Chris Bassit definitely was one of those players that was like, come on, the Astros weren't the only one doing it. Just in a time when everybody could easily dunk on us and score points on Astros and Astros fans, it took some people, with some big stones to actually say, hey guys, let's be a little reasonable here. Or, you didn't have to stick his neck out and say that, there definitely was sign stealing happening in that era. But he did because it was the right thing to do, and he just didn't want to, go on to the, score points in the media based off of just hate or just spreading something that isn't true just so that you could kind of score points with the fan base, So Bassit's always going to have a lot of respect from me for that. This is also a Singleton game, another game note here. John Singleton was in. Pardon me. I had some... I'm learning a lot of things. I had some Pepsi before the podcast. That's going to be a no. I'm like the kid from Home Alone. No, I can't have Pepsi. It's going to be a problem. But yeah, forgive the burp there. But yeah, so it's going to be a Singleton game. So John Singleton's going to be in for Abreu here. Jose Abreu, it's good to see him take some time off. I think, sometimes it's no matter where you are in life, whether you are like me and transitioning to, new things in life, or if you're Jose Abreu and you're transitioning to a new skill set, he doesn't quite have the bat speed he used to. He's learning how to play with a little bit more limited skill than he used to. And, we're all aging. I'm not trying to say this to be rude, but, he also, is a little sore. He had to start doing Pilates and add things to his regimen to stay healthy, Jose Abreu. So it's good to see that he's able to take some time off, because I know last season he really didn't want to take time off. So Jose Abreu sitting for John Singleton. I know some people aren't a fan of Singleton, but it is a good thing. And the organization has Singleton in there right now, at least, so that's his spot. So it was was a easy first inning for Cristian Javier. But in the first inning there, I was really hoping that my Singleton praise and, my whole, if he's wearing an Astros jersey, we got to be cheering for him. I thought we were going to get a potential grand salami moment with John Singleton there. But it was so it was so close to a big hit there. I do think Singleton does have a good eye. I think he has a potential to have a big bat. He did have a decent game here. I'm going to pull up the box score here. Let's actually look at what John Singleton did here tonight. It is saying Singleton was 1 for 5 with 1 strikeout. Just making sure I'm reading that correctly. Yeah, that makes him have a 222 batting average and a 444 OPS on the young season so far. So yeah, that he's definitely he's not setting the world on fire right now. He does look to have a pretty decent eye at the plate, which is what we need. And until Joey Loperfido kind of can play first base more consistently, Singleton is our first base option, and he is going to be our left-handed option. We'll see how Loperfido learns defense on first. But yeah, so just moving on, it was good to see some good. We'll get to the third inning here. Let's just get to it. Yordan Alvarez had a huge home run in the third inning. It was absolutely fantastic. I was so happy to see Yordan have a big game. This whole game he went 4 for 5 with 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and 3 RBIs. And yeah, Yordan's slump is over. It's officially over, folks. I'm calling it. Yordan called it. Technically, what am I saying? Why am I taking credit for it? I mean, I will take credit for things wildly, but yeah, no, this is all Yordan. He had a huge game. And yeah, that third base home run was third inning home run was much needed. And then yeah, in the fourth inning too, wanted to shout out Jose Altuve on Threads. For those of you who saw my note, I made a mention about how we needed to have aggressive base running, but it didn't need to be at the cost of some errors there. We needed, if we were going to continue to be aggressive, or if we were going to dial it back. If we were going to continue to be aggressive, obviously there needed to be a little bit more focus on the base pads. And it was good to see Altuve get super aggressive in base running in this game and come up with some success. I mean, I think the allegations, I'm trying to think of the meme here, but the allegations that Jose Altuve is trying to beat here is that he is, not very good at base running, not a heads-up base runner. It's not necessarily about his speed, which I would say is probably, at some point it was a little bit better, but maybe, I don't know, maybe right now it is a little less than average, if we're being honest, as he's aging, but it's not about the speed. It's more about the fact that he kind of makes some costly errors on the base pads. So he has to beat those allegations. And I really think this could be his season to do that, because not only is Espada preaching aggressive base running, but obviously the Astros are going to be in positions where they cannot be giving up costly runs. So it's going to be a balancing act. And I think that I think that the Astros will figure that out. They will find that balance. But that was very promising to see. Chas McCormick also had a nice big hit in the fifth with runners on, and that's something that I've definitely been calling for. Besides the big game where we had the no, we were just waiting for another big game here, and we were definitely waiting for the Astros to get better at hitting with runners in scoring position. That's something that had been going on at the beginning of the season. It's definitely something I mentioned during the Yankee series a lot because it was not happening. So it was good to see it happen during this Blue Jay series, getting some hits with runners on. And then, Cristian Javier pitched a really good game. Like I said, he went 5 innings. So in the 6th inning, it was nice to see while we were up, we got the Magic Man came in, Seth Martinez. And once again, he didn't give up a run. So So the Magic Man is definitely he's having a pretty good little run here as a reliever for the Houston Astros. I think that he is getting more confidence. I think most importantly, Joe Espada is having more confidence in him. So I think that the Magic Man, might be doing some more magic if he's able to stay on the roster, stay healthy, and just keep it up. I really see that he could potentially be a nice little middle relief arm. But before we get to I was going to say there is some more pitching here, but before we get to them, Yordan, he homers again, and this time it's in the bottom of the sixth. Obviously, I mentioned it earlier. I just wanted to throw it out there. He definitely was looking powerful, and it's like I was saying earlier in the other podcast when Alvarez was having some of his hitting struggles, it didn't look like he was struggling. It looks like he was just being really, really patient. And sometimes when the pitchers really got good command and they're hitting those edges and it's really not the pitch that you prefer to hit and you think it could be a ball, you kind of let it go. Alvarez has a really good eye. He might not quite have the same degree of eye as Bregman, but I've played with players like this. I definitely wasn't a player like this. I thought I could be, but I really wasn't, especially as I got older, played against better talent. But, you have players that really know the zone. They lay off and they're really patient on pitches because they know it can kind of go either way. It could, or it's just not really a preferred hit. They're not going to get the result they want, so they kind of let it go. I thought he was being really patient and also simultaneously not getting the results he wants, getting to the warning track a lot. So it's nice to see him have a big game because he really needs the confidence. Not that he needs it, but we need him to be producing for this offense, and to have him have more of that swagger up there. That's going to mean more big hits. So you love to see it. Yordan has a huge game. Montero sighting. There's also Montero in this game. He had an inning to build on there. I really think that I believe that was the seventh inning that Montero came in to pitch. I think Montero's going to always have a huge amount of criticism on him because of the contract that he signed. And not just the contract he signed, but he signed a big contract when we didn't have a GM. Pardon me. James Click got fired that offseason after Montero had a great offseason. Jim Crane and to a lesser extent, I believe Jeff Bagwell were kind of running the show at that point, and they extended Montero to a big extension. And last season, he really struggled. And I get it. When you sign that big contract, it comes with a lot of eyes on you. You get a lot of money, so a lot of people are going to expect things from you. So I'm not trying to say take that expectation away, or we shouldn't expect things from Rafael Montero. I'm just trying to say that, we should still be rooting for the guy, right? I mean, he's not in a situation where we're going to DFA him. He's not in a situation where we could realistically trade him. So, minimally, we want this guy to be good enough that we can trade. So what's the use of rooting against him unless you're just some guy that just wants to hate? I hope we don't have too many of those people listening to this podcast. If you are, I hope I could at least talk you to my side where love and appreciation is a little bit better than just hating everything. So all I'm saying is that he had an inning to build on. It wasn't exactly perfect, but he had a good one. And hopefully this will lead to him pitching more like this and being able to get into those situations, because we're going to need him in the sixth. We're going to need him in the seventh. We're going to need him in that position for multiple games. Let's see, that's going forward in the game as we're kind of going chronologically here. We had a jalapeno popper in the seventh. He hit a slider that was over the plate, and it's nice to see JP3 shaking off a little bit of that rut that he was in. Not a little bit, but, I think, when it comes to young players, when the league starts figuring you out, it's hard to make those adjustments. I mean, if I was able to make adjustments, I would have played baseball a little bit more. I really wasn't able to adjust to a slider. There were plenty of things in baseball that I realized, maybe I should do theater. maybe this isn't my strength. Like just knowing the adjustment and being able to make the adjustment are two different things. And then it's the psychological thing. Once he actually was adjusted his batting stance, it's the psychological thing of, getting the same results and having the confidence to stick with it and not fall back into old routines. So it's good to see JP3 out there. Tuve followed JP3, not to let that hand-heart moment go too long. Tuve followed him up with a back-to-back homer to the Crawford boxes. At this point, it's 8-0. I know I don't think I've had a running tally of the score as I've gone. I'll make a note of that in my notes next time. But yeah, so this is actually, we know that's going to be the final score. But after that, I thought I went wild for a second because Yordan obviously was after Tuve in the order, and I thought Yordan went yard again. But it's what I've been seeing all week. It's that he got a really loud deep homer to the warning track. Then we have Taylor Scott. Taylor Scott came in and pitched the 8th, and this seemed more like a role that I thought Taylor Scott would get in this season, kind of like a mop-up role. We're up 8-0. We're trying to see, we're trying to see what this kid has, or he's not really a kid. I guess I'm older than him. I could call him that, but I'm not trying to be disparaging. We try to be nice to players, professional baseball players around here. We make our jokes, but I'm never trying to be disparaging or disrespectful. I guess sometimes humor can be disrespectful, but I'm not trying to be mean-spirited, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But Taylor Scott came in, and this seems more like the role that I would see him in. He had 2 strikeouts though, and he's looking like he's able to eat up some innings too. And I know I mentioned the Magic Man, Seth Martinez, earlier, and how he might be carving a role out for himself. But Taylor Scott enters the chat. Maybe Taylor Scott could fill this role too. So I'm just going to put this out there for anybody who's listening. I'm just curious, who would you prefer so far at this juncture in the season? Who do you think who would you prefer, or who do you think is going to take that role? If I had to guess right now, based off of what he's done so far in an Astros jersey and his longevity with the team, I think that they would go with Martinez over Scott. But we'll have to see until what's going to happen when everybody gets healthy, or when JP France comes back from paternity leave. And right now we have Dylan Coleman here for JP France. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but yeah, Taylor Scott came in. We'll see. Let me know if you prefer him or Martinez, or who you think is going to win. And guys, once again, in this 8th inning, we have a Grae Kessinger sighting. It's good to see him. We don't have this isn't a video graphic. I almost said put the graphic up there, like I was doing the video podcast, even though I know I'm not right now. It's just late. That's how it goes sometimes. The brain is melting. But yeah, it was good to see him. He had a great defensive play in the 8th inning there at third, spelling Bregman, which is also good to see. Bregman is another guy that's notoriously hard to take out of the game. So it was nice to see that they were able to get him some rest. Grae Kessinger was also the first to bat in the 8th. He struck out, but that's okay. Grae, we're rooting for you. He popped up this weird fly ball that I thought they were going to catch a pop out and get him, but it kind of just fell where the Jays couldn't reach it, in between kind of this no man land there by first base. And like I was saying, sometimes a ball takes a bad bounce and bad luck in baseball. Sometimes it's just how baseball goes. Especially at this level when everybody plays so well, it's really won on the margins. And sometimes, just the way a ball bounces or the way balls fall or when little things that can all add up to lead to momentum or bigger moments or just a timely run. And it looked like the Blue Jays really had some blues this series. They seemed like they were getting some bad bounces and bad luck. Let's see here. You need a bit of luck sometimes. I'm not saying every team, that wins is lucky, but you have to have consistency, a good team, and a little bit of luck on your side. And we're going to need a little bit of that going to the playoffs, so I'm happy to have a little bit of luck on our side right now. And then we had Dylan Coleman sighting, as I mentioned earlier. He was in the 9th with a mop. He's in for J.P. France, who's on paternity leave. Dylan Coleman was acquired from the Kansas City Royals in this offseason. This is a Dana Brown move, so I know that our GM is rooting for an impressive first showing because, right now, a lot of the players that are contributing, they tend to be, either Jeff Luhnow or James Click guys. And, Dana Brown is really hoping that some of his signings and some of his guys and his picks are going to start contributing soon enough. He wants to start putting I guess I am trying, like, thumbprint. That's the word. I was like, fingerprints. That sounds terrible. But yeah, no, he wants to kind of make his mark on the roster. So I know he's rooting for Coleman. And yeah, Coleman, he didn't have the best outing, but he walked his first batter. Apparently, he's had some control issues in the past. But he did pick up a strikeout, and the last out was a bobbled grounder that Tuve stuck with and threw the runner out. So, it could have been a little dicey there. Glad Dylan Coleman didn't have to keep pitching. We got a little bit of luck and defense there. But yeah, we'll have to see how Coleman does. Obviously, I think he's on a bit of a short leash as a guy that's just added. But yeah, we'll see how he does. It was good to see Diaz. Oh, wait, real quick, I just wanted to say congrats to JP France, his wife, Jess France, as they welcome baby Remy. He's out on paternity leave. I know I know that he's not going to hear this, but also it's a good thing to shout out. Congratulations, JP, all Astros fans and people here at Space Cadet. We welcome baby Remy. But yeah, on to Diaz here. He just wanted to make a quick mention that this series, the games he caught, he's let up one walk and 0 hits. I wrote that stat down earlier, and I'm like that can't be true. He definitely, yeah, wow. I mean, so it's glad to see that there's no drop off from Maldi. I was hoping to see Diaz be elite, but I knew it came with the AM radio and X fans popping off about how Diaz should have started all last season. I really am rooting for Diaz, but I know these AM fans and Xers, I guess, I don't know what to call them, are really frustrated that Maldonado started so much last season. But really the fact of the matter is the organization, the Houston Astros, that's been to 7 ACLSs straight, they didn't think he was ready. They thought that it would be best for Diaz to spend a year under Maldi's tutelage, learning a little bit about calling a game, learning about, I think, relationships and things, soaking up as much as he could from Maldonado in that last season. So I get it. I understand. For the rest of time, it's going to be a what if we would have had Diaz there, more during the season or especially during the playoffs. I'm not trying to say, there was no room for extra Yanier Diaz last year. I'm just saying that wasn't his main role. However, if I'm being honest, I would have at least liked to carve out a role for him for the playoffs. Okay, Yanier, we really want you to learn from Maldonado, but hey, Maldi, just so you know, when push come to shove in the playoffs, if this kid's hitting better than you, you're going to need to be okay getting subbed out sometimes for him. However, or at least used as a DH. However, kind of the thing we're not looking at here for Diaz quite yet is that he is not hit very well as a DH. I don't know what that's about, but it seems like the kid really likes to catch and hit. He doesn't like to just DH. So, maybe that is also a little bit on Diaz's performance as well. Maybe it would have been better if he had a better DH record going into the playoffs. He might have played more. Or maybe it's just that Brantley came back and things were shuffling around and there wasn't as much room for Diaz at that point. But, we can speculate about last season all we want. But at the end of the day, I'm saying the organization said he wasn't ready. That's fine enough by me. We know the kid's ready now. So I'm really happy to see him. All right, let's talk about the upcoming series against that team in Arlington. All right, well, we're kind of running out of time here, so I don't want to take too long with this game series preview. But the Astros tend to hit well in their house, so hopefully that trend continues because this is the first big series of the year. Obviously, it would be nice not to fall flat on our face out of the gate, but this is not just a normal year where we're playing for the silver boot, So this team in Arlington, they're pretty petty last season. I think even their GM it wasn't just the players or the fans. I think the GM was even being a little petty. I didn't even think, like the X-Boys or the AM radio boomers would have thought that someone would intentionally throw at a guy in the ALCS when Dusty had been so vocal for years about how much he wanted to go to a World Series twice. Pretty much since Dusty Baker came to Houston, he'd be like, yeah, I'd like to win a World Series, but I'd also like to win 2 World Series. The only thing better than 1 World Series win is 2. So obviously, this dude was very stoked on getting back to the World Series. I don't think in any situation Dusty Baker would have wanted to throw at a guy in the ALCS. I don't think he would have wanted an extra base runner in any situation, no matter what. And I think, Maldonado is a pretty smart baseball guy, too. I think that guy would have really loved to ride off into the sunset winning another World Series. I don't think they were ready to get vengeance. They could get vengeance against the Rangers in the regular season. Why do that in such a big situation? However, people thought that is what they wanted. That is, what they preferred. I mean, Dusty Baker pretty much had I want to go to the World Series again embroidered on his armbands. I don't understand why people think they would be so flippant about that. Now, I will agree they wanted high heat. They wanted heat up and in. Maybe you don't throw heat up and in if you're having control issues. I don't think I don't think Abreu knew that he would tag Garcia like that. I think he thought he was throwing a competitive pitch. However, that situation is gone. That's what happened. A lot of Arlington people are mad about it. It's funny because, I see the Astros get thrown at so frequently, even so far not intentionally, but, they've got a lot of high heat. They get hit all the time. There's even people in the media or on X or on Facebook calling for players on the Astros to get hit, calling for their death, and somehow that's fine, but a competitive pitch goes astray and all of a sudden the Astros are the villains. It's just the fact that the media loves to paint us as the villains. They love us in the black hat. So it was a good thing for Abreu to hit Garcia there for the media because they got to play that narrative up. However, Maldonado and Dusty knew they didn't want that. Plus, that gives them momentum and them emotion. They understand the way that emotion and the ebbs and flow of the game. They wanted to stay on top. You don't goad an opponent when you're on top like that in the ALCS. But, we're just going to move on now. Let's talk about who's pitching against this team in Arlington coming up here. So they have a day off, travel day on Thursday, like me. It looks like we're going to have Hunter Brown, a question mark, and in the JP France slot, and Ronel Blanco. So it's probably going to be Brandon Bielak due to the recent roster moves. I think that's what's going to be happening. Dylan Coleman got called up, not a starting pitcher, so I'm guessing Bielak is starting and Coleman's going to be in the pen. The first game here is going to be on Apple TV. I'll be watching on my phone with my family huddled around me. Brown is going to be facing Corey Bradford. He's a young left-hander who hasn't had too much success so far in his young career. He had a pretty decent start so far this season. So we'll see how we face that left-handed pitcher. Brandon Bielak, I think will go up against. I'm thinking he's starting, but he will definitely be up against John Grae, who had a rough start his last time out, not being able to go 4 innings. He gave up 5 runs and 7 hits. And then in the third game against the team in Arlington, our hero Ronel Blanco plays Dane Dunning. Dane Dunning has had a career 4.17 ERA and is kind of an inning eater from what I can tell. A lot of starting pitching, you need to be decent and you need to be able to eat innings. But, a lot of times Astros, they take these guys that are pretty standard, but pretty good pitchers, and they make them look like Cy Young winners because, in a way, sometimes the Astros play to their talent. And sometimes these guys, I feel like they lull them to sleep or something. It's just kind of like, I don't know. Sometimes they do well against kind of league standard pitching, So we'll see. We'll see what Dane Dunning is bringing against the Astros. We'll see how Ronel Blanco sets up against the Rangers with his new cambio, with that changeup. Now let's get to predictions. I'm taking an L for the first series. I really think I wouldn't have predicted for us to lose. I maybe would have predicted us to split. And then, of course, I predicted correctly against the Blue Jays. So I'm going to say now I'm 1 for 1 on predictions. I got the 2 out of 3 right against the Canadian Astros, and we wish them well. Now, let's see. For Arlington, I feel optimistic. I think we play there well. I think some of our guys want revenge, actually, not just me. And I don't even want revenge. I want, sports revenge. I'm not being insane. I'm a normal person. I want the Astros to win. That's what I want. But I do see some emotions flying high in this series. I'm glad I'm going to be out of town and not be able to do some quick reactions to these games. I might lose some family members out in the Dallas area. I do think there's going to be a lot of emotion. So if you are an emotional person, maybe stay off the internet during this series. But I say, I think we're going to get a new swag leader from the group, taking the crown from Maldi, who took the crown from Correa. And it was briefly borrowed from time to time by Lance McCullers for a bit there. But, when he was healthy. But I think we find a leader here, not only to pump us up in the big moments, but to settle us down when the emotions run high and help us play our game. Maybe Yordan could be the latter, the calm guy, but who do you think could be our swag leader? Maybe it's just Yordan. We'll see. And that's going to be it for us tonight here at the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, a Houston Astros podcast. I'm going to be out of town for a bit, so I'll have my out-of-office reply ready, but I'll still have content coming out for you. It just might not be like the video podcast. It might be a little more scaled back for the next week or so. So please reach out to the podcast here at Space Cadet Sports at Substack.com. That's our email. We have a new Instagram account. You can find that at Space Cadet Sports on Instagram. The podcast itself and all the blog is at Space Cadet Sports. That's SpaceCadetSports.substack.com. I'm your host, Paul Salazar Jr. You can find me on social media at Paul Salazar Jr. Our co-host, Carla the dog, you know what? We're shouting everybody out. She's on Instagram too. Good.dog.carla. Folks, let's be relentless this season. Vamos Astros.